If you're serious about making power on your STI, this is one part you cannot skip. You're gonna need the Radium dual hanger for the 2008 to 2021 STI. This is what's gonna be holding our two Walbro 450s. These things flow 450 liters of fuel per hour. And we also got the universal install kits, which include the sock filter that go on the bottom of the pumps. Now, this is the first time I'm ever going to install one of these things. And again, if you came from the last video when we did the Radium fuel pressure regulator, the entire reason I've avoided installing this kit to begin with, not only are the finances, but most importantly, I argue, it's pretty intimidating, especially for a DIYer. Hopefully this video tutorial is going to be very simple and straightforward. You guys can follow along as you go. Now, without further ado, let's start unboxing this thing and throw this in the car. I've already gone ahead and opened it, to be honest, because I just got so excited when this got delivered. And here it is. This is the entire fuel hanger assembly. Here are all the ports. These are all the wiring locations for our pumps. And I think the last thing in here is gonna be our fittings and instructions and other stuff like that. Before we go any further, I'm just gonna move this off to the side and show you guys one of the fuel pumps, or at least open maybe both of them up. It's falling off. You guys will see, compared to the 340 I have in the car, these things are massive. So now that we have the pumps, the hanger, and all this stuff here, we're gonna start opening the hanger up. There's gonna be these Allen key bolts, I think right here, and potentially against these three, just from this looks of it. So there's gonna be a total of 5 we're gonna have to remove in order for the hanger to slide up. And it sucks I don't have an actual socket for this. I would just zap these off, honestly, but I'm forced to use very primitive methods. Yo, honestly, when you think about it, it's crazy how I've pretty much built my entire car out of a small little garage. Yeah, that's why I didn't do it. Obviously the money aspect, but this stuff, I mean, look at this, pretty intimidating. Like imagine you're a novice installing car parts and you see all this, where connectors go and our ring terminals. Like, where the hell does this all go? Oh, and it sucks because I'm doing this when I really should be doing homework, but I'd rather do this, but I also rather do homework I need to get done. So now that we have the 5 Allen key bolts removed, we can now slide this thing open, I think, and I hope. Yep, just like that. Oh, sweet. Pretty nifty. Put this right there, and then we'll put this to the side. First thing we're gonna do is grab the assembly and remove these 3 Allen key bolts, 2 on this side, 1 on this side. And you know what? I'll stop being lazy, just do the last 2 by hand. We are not going to torque these down via impact on the last one. So we'll just move this to the side. That's gonna give us more room for the next step. We're gonna start off by hooking up the ring terminals to the respective places. So if you look at these studs and flip this over while putting your fingers on it, you can see it says pump 2 positive, pump 2 negative. These are the polarities. You want the black for the negative and the red to go to the positive terminal. So we're going to hook these up, put our ring terminals on. All right, and then just to double check, we have plus being red, minus being black, perfect. Next, we'll grab our jam nuts that they provide, which I believe are 3/8. Just finger tight for now. Before we go any further and tighten down the ring terminals for the second fuel pump, what we're gonna do is remove this plug. We're gonna need a 1/4 inch Allen key socket, and we're gonna be replacing the plug with another hose bar fitting just like this guy. Lubricate the O-ring again. We're gonna hand tighten this guy. Then we're gonna grab a 3/4 inch socket, tighten this guy down. I'm gonna do it by hand again, as much as I can. All right, that's all the way in. Now I'm just gonna give it 1 ugga-dugga. That's good. All right, that thing is on there and both of them look good. Now we can continue tightening down the ring terminals and then we can move to the next step. And I'm about to save you guys a ton of time, so if this helps you out, make sure to leave a like. There is no way you're gonna fit a wrench or a normal 3/8 socket in here because I tried, trust me. You're gonna grab some type of Allen key thing with a screwdriver like this, and you're just gonna put this on there like so. And then once it's on there, just put the screwdriver in and give it a nice twist. Now for the fun part. We're gonna have to install these little hoses, but gosh, these are super rigid. But we're gonna put this to the side and we're gonna install these hoses onto the top portion of the fuel pump here. So we gotta remove this thing, and then you wanna lubricate this end, or actually both ends, to wherever they connect. And then afterwards, once we do that, we're gonna clamp it down, and then we're gonna do that for both of them, then move to the hanger again, and then connect them. And that portion should be done. This is what the pump looks like with the hose and the clamp This one is for our barb here. So this side is recommended to lubricate. However, you cannot apply heat to this side. You just want to make sure everything is freely moving, so that way we can rotate the pumps after we slide them onto the hose barb. All right, I'm just going to show you one of these pumps because it's going to be the same for the other side. And it's going to be kind of a pain to do. Let's see. You just push this straight down, wiggle it back and forth a little bit. I think that's on. The instructions say not to secure this hose clamp yet because we still need to rotate the pump after installing this bracket back on. Here's the orientation of the pumps. They're on the hose barbs. Now we got to reinstall that bracket. Make sure the orientation of these clamps are correct or facing a certain direction, just because the bracket's going to get in the way otherwise. Here's the configuration of the pumps. You want them slightly facing outwards. Now we can put the bracket back on. And then this bracket sits like so, and the pumps sit in between the recess area, or recessed, I should say, not recess. Here's the second one, and then we'll do the last one because it's got some guidance. All right, now we just got to tighten these guys back down real quick. Now I can move the bracket if I want to just a bit. It's right where I want it, so I'm going to tighten the bolts down. Boom, boom, and our last ugga dugga, done. Here's the assembly so far. Just remember, we still need to tighten these hose clamps down here, but before we do that, we need to secure the actual pumps to the bracket, and we're going to do so via these 4 hose clamps that were included with the kit. So these are 6mm size, so we're going to have to remove those real quickly, and there's going to be 2 per pump. The clamps are on both of the fuel pumps. Now all we have to do is to tighten the lower clamps to the hose barb, and then we can move on to the next step. We'll do the same thing on this side. We're super close. All we have left to do is to put the filters on the bottom of the pumps. So Radium supplies 2 fuel filters. It's this one and this one. However, I mentioned at the beginning of the video that I have the filters for the Walbro 450s. This is the universal install kit, which we're not going to be using. So I'm probably maybe going to end up returning these or save them. But we're going to utilize the filters that Radium gives us. So all we need to do is pretty much line up this notch with the filter itself, and then include the washer here on the other side to secure the fitting onto the sock. And then that's pretty much all we got to do. Remove this little thing. So this tab kind of lines up with this hole, this notch, and then you just press down. That's all the way down. All right, I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. I'm not gonna even bother installing that little retaining clip, just because I've never had a fuel sock come off, and they're kind of a pain in the ass to get on. So we're just gonna leave it. It's all the way in. Last thing we have to do is connect the fuel pumps to these pigtails. So this orange thing right here on the pigtail connector absolutely needs to be there. I think it acts as an insulator to fluids, or specifically in this case, our gasoline. So in order to make this easier for everybody, just do a little bit of silicone lubricant all around here. It dries up pretty fast, so it's gonna be all right. Now all we need to do is connect these guys together and make sure this gray piece is gonna go all the way down. Now you're not going in. What? All the way down. Boom. Now this gray notch or gray tab is over this black notch, and you know for a fact these things are connected. So we have both of them connected now. All we have left to do is to put this hanger back into the basket. Unfortunately, guys, the fuel socks that Radium provides don't work for the Walbro 450s because they orient like this. There's barely any play and they're very rigid. So when you try to insert them, they're not gonna work. But that's not all. When you try to mock this up, we're gonna hit our clamp here. So we're gonna have to adjust them and move them around. I'll probably move them to this back corner. And with the universal kit for the Walbro 450, it looks like this sock is gonna clear because they're gonna sit like this. And that way we have room to fold up if we need to. And it's gonna clear this side as well, especially because this side is a lot looser. So what we're gonna do is adjust them, try again, and hopefully everything's gonna work out. Unfortunately, we had to make that little adjustment, but I think we'll be fine now. So we ended up moving the part that tightens down to the backs, closer to this part on both sides. Hopefully that will have enough clearance now. Let's just check it out really quickly before we put the socks back on. Okay, yeah, it's gonna work out. So I'm gonna utilize the sock from the Walbro 450 Universal Install Kit. I'm gonna throw these on, and then hopefully it fits in the actual basket. Time to put this guy back in. Are we gonna have clearance? Fold this guy in. Almost like we're making paper airplanes here. Well. That was the solution, I guess. Tip it forward and then slide it back. Who knows? Make sure the wiring is tucked right here in the center. just so it has enough clearance. And I think this guy is gonna hang out right here. So the wire for the fuel level sensor has got to go behind this black post. All right, now we're gonna grab the bolts, the Allen key bolts from our blue little tray, and we're just gonna send it. She says all the threads are showing up, but I think this one's gonna be a pain in the ass because they're not fully there. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of there, but it's not really, to be honest. I think it's good enough to thread in for sure. The bottom ones are good. For some reason, the top one is gonna be a pain, I know. There's that one. Now you just gotta do the rest. Here's the hanger all mocked up. Don't freak out about the wiring. This is actually from the iWire kit, which is gonna be the next video. I was just mocking things up. The last thing we have to do is tear apart the back seat, access the OEM fuel basket and hanger, and we need to pull out the OEM fuel level sensor just because otherwise we will not be able to see how full or empty the gas tank is. And before we access the OEM pump, make sure to disconnect the negative terminal. Safety first, guys. All right, fun time, which means it is time to remove the back seat. This is not my favorite part, but it's gotta get done. There are these two things right in the front of the back seat here. You're just gonna have to reach and feel them, and it's gonna be hard to show you guys, even if the camera was right in here, or if you guys have the first person point of view. Just feel them, and you're going to lift upwards and out. And then that pretty much disengages the back seat like this. We went ahead and pulled those latches, and I'll show you guys what those look like once I remove the back seat. And see, boom. This is where the low pressure fuel pump sits on the right hand side on the driver, sorry, not driver, the passenger side. And I don't know if you guys can see this here, but these are the tabs I'm referring to. They are on this side and the other side. So now we're gonna get our Phillips head, and we're gonna have to remove 4 Phillips screws, and then we can get to the fun stuff. I'm hoping this is the last thing we have to do, because I wanna get this new fuel pump hanger in there. And I honestly just hate doing this, especially because of where the car is located. It's just not that much room right now, but hopefully in the future we'll have bigger space, an actual shop. That's gonna be awesome. Now this thing's open. There is a connector we wanna squeeze and remove, which is here. There we go. And now this thing can just hang out there. Now that I got some rags, we can disconnect these lines, which you just squeeze the tab here, this locking mechanism, and you just pull them out. Fuel is coming out, but not a ton. That's good. There's one. There's the other one. It's a lot cleaner than it used to be in here. If you guys go back to that first video I ever posted about doing the fuel pump, the simple AEM 340, you'll see how dirty the actual inside of this thing was. There's spiders. It's just a mess. Looked like Harry Potter's closet. All right, I just switched angles real quick because, yeah, I don't know. I was just getting tired of being bent over like that. Now that we have all the lines taken care of and removed from the fittings here for the OEM hanger, now we have to go around with our 8mm socket, and we're just gonna have to take these nuts off. There are a total of, I think, I wanna say 10, maybe 12. I'm not sure. We're just gonna remove them, and then we can pull out the OEM hanger, and then we can go back to the bench and take care of the level. There are the nuts. There are a total of 1, 2, 3. There is a total of 7 plus 1 because I broke a stud the last time I was doing this, but it's all right. So just to show you guys that these are where the nuts sit. They go all the way around the pump, this little O-ring here. So now we can remove this thing, and this whole thing is the pump. This O-ring thing is this black piece, and then I don't know, I like to grab them from the fittings. Probably not a good idea, but it's really not that bad. And you have to angle this out because the fuel level the fuel level sensor is hanging about right here. So let me put you guys back on the tripod and pull this out. Just gotta angle it out, yeah, facing towards you guys. You hear the fuel coming out, which is fine. There is fuel in here, which I have a good amount. Just gonna dump this out. And this thing is so simple, guys, in comparison to the freaking Radium one. My goodness. I'm just gonna dry it up, just because I don't want this leaking all over the bench. I actually came at 5 a.m. to install the new AEM 340 fuel pump. It was a good morning, I remember. Here's the new Radium hanger, and here's the stock OEM hanger. We're gonna be taking off the O-ring and moving it to the new fuel pump hanger somehow, some way. There you go. Move this off. All right. We will definitely we're definitely going to be re-needing this, or re-needing. We're definitely going to be reusing this. Now, the thing we care about here is this guy. This thing tabs in somewhere. I believe it's here, but we need to disconnect, I believe, this portion. So you go to this side where the OEM sensor was plugged in that I showed you where to disconnect it from. So tab down and pull out. Then we're gonna take our yellow and black wires, boom, boom, and this little lever tells us how much gas there is in the tank. So to remove the fuel level sensor, we need to push this down. There's a tab right there. Depress it, or press it, I guess. This thing shit. Yep, so it slide right out. Yep, just like that. And we're pretty much done with this guy. We are not gonna need it. There's some stuff, yeah, I'm not even gonna get into that. Now, we're gonna take our radium hanger, and this guy should just slide down. So bad news, we're gonna have to undo the bolts that are on this side and the 3 that are on this side, because you need to push this down, and then when you push the top down, the actual hanger assembly with the pumps, then it's gonna slide down, it's gonna lock in place. Not a big deal. I'm gonna time lapse through this. Now we have the pump, we have our level sensor, we have everything installed. This is not going anywhere. So you guys can tell what I was saying. You put it in, then you slide the top down, and then you just bolt everything back up. Now we're just going to have to cut these wires, and we're gonna have to make a connection for the sensor here that go to the ring terminals for the level here. You take these black and yellow wires, we're going to cut them. We're gonna snip this last one, and that should be it. Yep, you wanna cut them as close as you can to this, this pigtail. So we throw this away, won't need them. Just get some wire strippers. You wanna grab one end of the wire, and this process is gonna be the exact same for both ends. Put this through. Actually, we'll do yellow because I want you guys to see on the first one. I'll do the second one too, just because I don't want to leave you guys hanging. So we'll put it in. We'll slide it in. This end grabs and bites down. This end peels. There's it. There's a little bit more wire exposed. That should be a good amount. And I'll do the same one, same thing to the black one. Okay, so now you're probably asking, what do I do with exposed wiring? Well, Radium gives you this little bag here called electrical connectors, or electrical pre-bag female connectors. In here is this crap. So you have this black connector, which is gonna connect to this guy, but we'll get there in a second. There's these sword looking things, these metal conductors that are going to conduct current through our wire here. So now we're gonna grab these pliers here, and then I'm essentially going to do the following. We're gonna grab the wire, go straight. We're going to put this through. I'm going to bend this towards itself. We're gonna put the actual wire in between. Then I'm gonna grab the set of pliers. I'm gonna insert this fitting right in the middle, and all I'm gonna do is squeeze the pliers and crimp this down. That way, there is no escape. The wire is not gonna fall out. I might do a little bit cleaning up off camera, but I'm just gonna smash them in some more. That's pretty much it. That's all you guys are gonna miss out. But we're gonna repeat the same process for the black one. So now we'll grab our plug with the top end facing upwards, the thicker part. This guy facing down, the wires facing down. Slide it through, just like that, all the way in. Great. Now we'll do the same thing to the yellow. And now we have 2 prongs, or I should say 2 connections in this terminal, this pigtail. And we just got to plug this in, and that is the fuel level sensor connected. I think this is going to wrap up today. We are now done. All we have left to do is throw this on the car and finish up the wiring, but that's going to be a separate video. So I'll catch you guys tomorrow. We're back. We're ready to install this thing into the car. However, I am not very happy. And why am I not happy? Well, I'm not very pleased with the way Radium decides to connect the fuel level sensor, that thing we last did yesterday, just because I feel like the connections aren't very secure. So when I got home last night, I was thinking of other solutions, and I decided to pick something up from Home Depot, and let me explain what we're gonna do on the bench. Here is my issue, the black and yellow wires with the included connections that Radium provides. I just don't think they're secure. Even before we added the electrical tape, they felt like they were gonna slide out, and I just don't wanna deal with that. The last thing I want to have happen is, we put everything together. Over time, the car vibrates, it drives, it rattles, things move around, and these connections get loose. I'm driving, and then all of a sudden I can't see at what level my fuel is, and then we're gonna have to pull everything out and fix it. So we're gonna take the precaution and install these crimp and shrink butt splice connectors. So they're different gauges. They're also waterproof, so I think it's gonna be good for our application here, considering that these wires are going to be exposed to ethanol and 91 gas, octane gas. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull these wires back out, and I'm just going to end up cutting both ends, splice them, put these in, connect them, crimp them, and then apply some heat. That way it shrinks, and then hopefully that will be good. Now we still need to install our gasket, and we're going to do this by finagling it underneath the pump or the hanger. Just be careful of the arm for the level sensor. Just got to be careful, be patient, and just go up and around this guy. Make sure everything is going up kind of at the same time. Now that's the gasket. However, we still need to find the orientation. And when I say orientation, I say that because there's these little nubs here. So the big holes around the hanger are where the studs go. The little guys, that is where these guys go. There's going to be these little gasket or grommet looking things, and you just have to make sure it's in the right place. And then ideally, or what's supposed to happen is you want all the holes to line up. So like this is the perfect position. So there's 3 little nubs, and they're pretty much, I don't know, straight across. Here, here, and here. They're all fully in. And then the rest of the holes are for the 8 nuts that go into the studs once we put everything down. This is gonna be just like the OEM system, so nothing's gonna change. And then I'll show you guys in here with the camera how or where all the lines go. But essentially we're gonna insert it like this, just like we took it out. There we go. All right, perfect, 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 perfect. Now what we have to do is grab our nuts from our magnetic tray or wherever you guys put them. I just like to start by hand tightening each, and then I'll take a impact at a low level and torque all these guys down. And also don't connect any of the lines yet. And I say don't connect them just because there are studs right where the lines connect. And the cool thing about the fittings that are on this for where these hard lines go is that they're all movable with the exception of the middle port. The middle port has to stay there. We're on speed 1, which is really low. And I'm gonna go kind of in a start pattern. And then I'm stopping right before it wants to get tight. Because I learned my lesson. I don't want to break a stud. Or sorry, yeah, I broke the stud and the nut. That's tight. I don't know what the torque value is here, to be honest with you guys. I'm just stopping at when it's tight, right before you keep applying force, and then they just snap off. So here's a close-up of the Radium hanger. We still have to install the lines that go to the ports. Now we still need to remove our fittings here, not the plastic ones, not this, but these plastic retaining clips that are more white than yellow. I don't know if that makes sense. So you're gonna have to grab something like a pick, because they're gonna sit in this recessed area. There's a lip right there that's preventing these teeth from actually letting these guys come out. Because if you just go ahead and connect these, they're not gonna stay on and you're gonna have a really bad time. It's gonna be a huge leak. So we still have to move those over. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And then afterwards, that should be the last step in order to set everything up. Here they are. We got them out of the OEM pump. Now the only thing left to do is to slide these onto our fittings. So we need to get them over this black piece. And then you're gonna do the same for this guy. So you go in and then watch, that's in. See how now when I wanna push out, and same with this guy, they're not coming out. They're retaining clips, that's what they are. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word. And then the last one is here. So now we can reinstall our OEM lines, and there's no confusion here. This guy cannot reach to the left. There's no way. I mean, it can, because now these rotate. But just looking at the OEM configuration, which I'll pull up right here. So on the left-hand side, this guy is gonna go to this port. The middle one, the one that's kind of straight looking, this one would go to this guy. And then the one that's also at a 90-degree angle, which is here, this should be going to this guy. So we're gonna pretty much mimic the setup for the OEM hanger right here. So we're just gonna go ahead and do that. And then just make sure the retaining clip and the actual line up. So watch, boom, and that's in. See, now I tug on this all day and there's no play, so we're good. Oh man, it is super satisfying to see our hard work, our efforts pay off. It's now fully installed in the car, with the exception of the wiring. One day we are planning on removing these hard lines and replacing them with dash 8 lines. So they're gonna replace the lines here that run from this location all the way to the firewall. But that's gonna be for another day. And that's gonna wrap up the Radium dual hanger install with the 2 Walbro 450s. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope it was a thorough tutorial. I've tried to look at other tutorials on YouTube, and I feel like I have never seen anyone actually showing how to install the pumps into the hanger itself, besides the wiring, which is gonna be right after this. We have the box here ready to go, so there's gonna be no delays. Hopefully I see you in the next video when we're gonna finish the pump up, and until next time, I'll see you on the next one.